Motherhood in Motion,
the podcast for mothers with ambition.
Welcome everyone. Welcome back to Motherhood in Motion, the podcast for mothers with ambition. I'm Anushka Kalyanpur-Deluca, co-host here and founder of Nannies and More. As you might remember, we are currently in our mini-series focused on everything shifts as we here in the UAE have been experiencing the impacts of the current geopolitical situation for the last few months. Today, we are really looking forward to speaking to the co-founder of Crunchmoms, Liying Tay. And Crunchmoms is so special to Constance and me because that is where we met and has been such a big part of our journey. So really excited to have you on today, Liying. Constance, over to you.
I'm also super excited because Liying made my start into Dubai a lot easier because I knew her from when I came from Singapore. So I'm Constance Munz. I'm the founder of both and mother to one child who is 3.5 and the co-host for this podcast. And I think we have talked a lot about the different steps and the different elements that make this kind of situation we're currently in. And one of the topics we were discussing a lot is the infrastructure and also the importance of community in situations like that. I mean, we started this whole series about crisis settings, which of course is not where we are in at the moment. But either way, no matter when you talk about crisis, about challenges, women always come back to community. And I think to talk about community, we couldn't have found anyone better than Liying to kind of share how she has built this together with her co-founder the last years. And so we're very proud to have you, and we just wanted to kick off a bit to understand where are you at the moment in your life journey, in your season of life, and how have you gotten there the last years?
Yeah, thank you, Constance and Anushka. You know, it's a real privilege for me to be on this podcast. I've seen and I know all of your journeys so well, and so to just see this come to life makes me so excited for both of you. So like what Anushka said, I am the co-founder of Crunchmoms, but I've been actually living and I've been based in Dubai for the last 8 years, right? So I'm now a mother of 2. I actually moved to Dubai with my husband as a trailing spouse. When I landed in Dubai, I was, just married, no kids, no obligation, super career first. And, it's been 8 years living in Dubai, and now I'm a mother of 2. I have a 3.5-year-old and an 18-month-old. And, being a mom has been just such a journey, I would say, right? It's constant chaos, but I think being a mom to Olivia has been the greatest sort of lens into my life and how I really look into what I want to invest my time in, my energy in. And this is why I built Crunchmoms in the Middle East with my partner, Julie. Crunchmoms is the MENA's first women's network that helps women sort of navigate the intersection of motherhood and career. It was really born out of my own struggles as a trailing spouse, expat wife, super A-type person, trying to just navigate and find answers to what it means to build a life that can, help support my ambition. So the last few months has been very interesting. I feel that, all of us, we've gone through so much. I'm now calling in from Singapore based on everything that has happened in the last few weeks. We decided to, have Singapore as a home base for now. It's short term, just to realign with what makes sense for my family. I have 2 young kids. I really want them to be able to, go outside to play, meet friends, still have a very, very calm sort of environment. I know the region is managing it really, really well, but, my husband flies a lot, right? So he is out very frequently, and having him come home is very important to how I want to structure my family life and sort of do life as a unit. So it was a decision for us to just be home-based in Singapore so he could, be around more, help out more, and, help us figure out these interesting times. Yeah.
That's super relevant and insightful, Liying, as always. You know, you've highlighted how motherhood has really helped clarify your journey and your purpose, which is exactly what our data tells us. And, you know, you are one of the people that really kind of exemplifies the geographic aspect of motherhood in motion.
Yeah.
You have been an expat basically since the age of 8. You have moved around so much and have always been so incredible at creating your community, bringing your people. So really excited to, you know, get into that aspect a little bit more deeply as well. Do you have any insights on what that looks like as an expat? Anything that you have learned in, you know, having relocation be such a almost constant in your life?
Yeah. I think being an expat child since 8 has definitely taught me so much about, you know, the definition of home, right? The definition of self, the definition of, you know, what a family unit truly is. So I've been relocating since 8 because of my dad's career, my dad's business. I lived across China and then went to Canada for school and then worked in Asia for a bit before relocating to Dubai with my husband. So from young, I think the idea of moving around so much really built my resilience as a young child. So what does this mean, right? So every 2 years, you move cities, you change schools, you live in rented homes. So from young, I think, you know, it's been inbuilt in me to really find that sense of stability and identity from within, right? So, and you're only able to do it when your family is very stable. When you know, I think back when I was growing up, when I say family stability and what that means is how do my parents actually amplify that, right? So as I, you know, became a mom and as I, you know, as I also want to be a spouse that's very supportive, how do I bring that lens into my own relationship, my own marriage, and how I build that kind of childhood for Olivia and Owen, both my kids. So I think from young, being able to move around is very difficult, but at the end of the day, it's that home base that you build within that family unit, that resilience that, you know, both partners have, the sense of strong identity within yourself. As women, we have to be pillars in the family, and how you build that is making sure that you're clear about what makes you in flow, you're clear about what gives you energy, and also making sure that you are self-reliant. When I say self-reliant, it's not so much just financial means. I know everyone automatically thinks about that, but it's more about making sure that you know yourselves so well and what your own needs are so that you can communicate that, right, to your spouse, to your family, to your friends. And eventually when you become a mom, it's chaotic, but you still have to set that boundary. So I think growing up, being an expat child, moving around so much sort of gave me lots of foundations to really navigate uncertainty with a lot more optimism, and also very quickly figure out what works for you and the kind of people you want to keep in your life, right? So I think all my best friends are all over. I'm based in Singapore. I've made such amazing friends in Dubai, but my best friend now lives in London and New York. But how do we make it work? We make it work because there's sort of a shared understanding that no matter where you are in the world, there's something that bonds you together, right? So very much like, you know, I guess everyone in Dubai, we're all from different parts of the world, but building that sense of community, that sense of belonging is because we have a shared experience. I think this is why Crunchmoms works, and this is why Crunchmoms is very much needed when I started being a mom, because I really wanted to be around women that could really hold space for that ambition, right? It's not, oh, I have to be in this conversation and all I talk about is being a mom. I wanted to create a space where you could talk about, you know, your promotion, starting a business, but at the same time, learning from someone next to you about how do you actually make time around mom life while building that business? How do you structure your nap times? How do you find that? How do you build that support at home? How do you hire a nanny, right? So, for example, when I first started Crunchmoms in the first year, really crystallized the big why of what I was doing. My first year was, I think second year into the marriage, we were very, very, career first. And so when we started hiring help, for example, we just wanted someone that could clean the house well, clean the house fast, and good communication skills. But, when I had Olivia and having this help, I realized it was not working because I did not put on that lens of what it truly took to raise a kid. You want someone around in your house that understands, nap times, that understands that, how do you manage a crying baby, to help you sort of be your other, support system, right? Because you're such an expat. You're expat living overseas. So I think that first year taught me that, for a working mom to succeed, it is not so much just corporate policies or what's available to her. It's about her own understanding of what she needs and how does she truly know what she needs. She can only learn that through conversations like these, conversations from asking the right people. When I say the right people, it's also people that can really understand her. She's not starting conversations from ground zero. She does not need to explain why she wants to go back to work. She does not need to explain why she wants to start a business, right? She wants to be in a room where everyone around her already have that general understanding of, yes, I want to be a mom, but I also want something of my own. So I think the first year of Crunchmoms and my first year of motherhood really crystallized what we were building. Obviously, building Crunchmoms and being a first-time mom founder was very difficult, but as all three of us here know, if you're so passionate about building something and you are the user at heart, it is so easy. Every late night, every 9 p.m. call or 9 p.m. brainstorm session, it's so energizing, right? And I think what's special is that with Crunchmoms, it sort of became a movement. It was something not we didn't expect it, but I think everyone saw and everyone really found themselves, aligning to what we're trying to build. So yeah, exciting.
It's funny because on Tuesday we had this event, or Wednesday, with Insert and LBS, and I think both Anushka and I had a quite harsh day, and it was not the evening that probably we would have both chosen to go out and give a speech. We were also struggling to have the time to prepare everything, but when we left that building, we both were so energized because it was really the passion project we are working on that we believe in is so important. And that's what I think we feel in Crunchmoms as well, that you all kind of live Crunchmoms as your passion and you give back a lot. And we saw this on that event on Wednesday. There were a lot of women there that literally came to us and said, I just had my second or my first child. I was a consultant, I was traveling a lot, I was very career oriented, and now I'm here sitting not knowing what I want to do next. Now, from how you were sharing your journey since being a child and always an expat child, you really grounded into, I would even say maybe values, I think, from what I know, and there's a lot of groundedness in how you talk about what you want. Could you maybe share a little bit on how other women could get there? Because I know you're very organized, very clear, and there's a lot of structure, and I get a lot of inspiration from you being that way, that for me it helps to kind of, just get examples and think a bit differently about my own life.
Yeah, I think I have to say I've not always been like that. I think there was a moment in time where I, was so fast-tracked in my career. I was traveling so much for a whole year, basically 1 week in Manila, 1 week in Jakarta, just so high in terms of loving work and all that identity that came around that I had, a really bad episode of shingles. I was completely burnt out. It was, all over my back. I was literally lying on my tummy for 2 weeks because just sitting up was just so painful. So I think for me, yes, I feel like now it sounds like I am, very values-based, very driven, very grounded, but I think it really took me a while. It's not something that I was born with. And I feel like this is one thing that's really important that women should know is that if you want to be a certain way, or if you want to really discover what you want to do, it's not so much about, asking someone for help. It's more about recognizing yes and taking actions to really dig deep, right? So for me, I read a lot. I speak to really amazing women. I feel like everyone that I meet, if I, have that special bond with them, like both of you, like we go deep in conversations, right? You have to take that time. There's no fast band-aid, quick aid, and sort of get you where you want to be. It's a constant, you have to be consistent, you have to be constant, you have to always be learning, I would say. The best way to do it is reading. That's my number one thing that I do for myself. I have, a list of books that I always try to keep up with, and also taking time out to reflect, right? So I do quarterly reflections, and I structure it in a way where I can sit down and I look back at the questions again to be able to compare, where was I 3 months ago? How am I going in the next 3 months? So I basically do a lot of me time, just quieting down my thoughts and really try to have that clarity within me because, things are going so quickly. You have mom life, you have work life, and you have all this content that's just thrown at you. But I find that the more I am, living, I guess, I'm still quite young, but you get what I mean. I try to take time for myself because I feel like that's the most important thing, where you can just sit down, take a piece of paper, just write your thoughts out. It will sort of craft, and then your values are solidified, and you'll be able to really bring that clarity back to work, and also bring that calm back to home, and bring that calm back to power dynamics between you and your husband, which, I think is very important as expat women living overseas, or even just women wanting to be there for family, but also have that career success that they want. Yeah.
I love that. I feel like you are, the prime example of our thinking, as Constance would say, both and, right? It's the motherhood and ambition piece. You have come from a startup, very hectic tech background, so growth focused, and I can hear from your story about things that you have had to unlearn, and things you are also utilizing to kind of push Crunchmoms forward to help this entire community. I also hear the paradox of what you're saying about, creating this community for ambitious women, but also you as a business owner, as a founder, that is also isolating.
Yeah.
So just thinking about all these different paradoxes, how do you keep those in check? And feel free to take a moment. I know that was a big question, but everything you've just said is just really, I think, what all of us are grappling with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Forces which in theory are in opposite directions, but in practice we know can also be sources of power and energy.
I think the first sort of answer and approach that came very quickly to me is that I have great partners in both life and work. So for example, at home, I, really work with my husband very closely in terms of what family values do we want to have in our kids, right? How do weekends look like? Do we overschedule our kids? Do we not overschedule our kids? How does he want to show up as a dad? How do I want to show up as a mom, right? So I think home front wise, it's very crucial. It took us definitely a while to get into this rhythm, but having that clarity that, at home, if I need to step away from, let's say, being super present every single night because, summit is happening, and every single night by 8 p.m., I need to get to my laptop. I need to be able to have that focus time from 8 all the way to 1 a.m. to just get it done, right? And he is also a very, very busy senior level, right? So we look at our calendars, we align and say, hey, this period leading up to this, I would need your help, please travel less, right? And have your meetings in the day, right? So we're very, very, it's a privilege, I would say, that he is able to be flexible with his time. We don't take that privilege for granted. I really tell him, you need to look at it and really also support people in his organizations through my lens, right? So he knows how it is as a working mom. So I think back to the question of life partners and also business partner, I think in life, my husband's very aligned with me and how we want to show up at work. How do we want to show up as parents? And so it works like that, right? And I tie it back again to all these weekly meetings that I have with him. We have an agenda. It's very structured. We know going in exactly what conversations are going to be, addressed, and any big items, we never talk about it during the week, right? So we put a pin on it. So an example would be, how do we look at renovations, right? So that's a conversation that, will only show up on Sunday. We will never make any decisions from Monday to Saturday on any big conversations, because it's not fair. I don't want him to come to me and say, you have to decide on this right now, because I'm in flow at work, I'm busy, and I cannot go to him in the middle of the day and be like, you got to decide right now, because we respect each other's time. So I think that's a very good underlying working operational setup that we have, which is amazing. And back to business also, right? I have an amazing founder as well. Her name's Julie. We really keep ourselves very weaved into mom life and work life. She knows when I pick up my kids, when I drop off my kids, what time I go for a workout, so that when we are online at the same time, it's very, very focused, right? So I think after 4 years of building a business with her, that's where we are at right now. Very, very aligned, and we know each other's working habits, how we communicate. But it is definitely very isolating, right? Like being a founder and also building something that's completely new in the region, you always got to be on top of it, because I think just between Julie and I, we feel so aligned to what we're building, that everything that, Crunchmoms run, any event, any partnership, any conferences, we put so much into it. It's also that high expectation that we bring into it that sometimes feels like, oh, it's so overwhelming, but we do it with a sense of, we love and flow, right? So that is easy. Back to the point about feeling isolated, I actually don't feel too bad about that. I think my life partner is amazing, and then my business partner is also equally cool. So I don't think isolation is the right word to describe it. It's more about what happens during a big challenge, right? Like navigating, building a business when you move from 1 to 2. That is crazy, because my husband was in the middle of a huge corporate peak. I really had to do a lot of solo parenting, and then I reach out. Be okay to ask for help, right? So Anushka, I've hired so many nannies from Nannies and More, because that enabled me my first year when I had Owen to really work on things. I wanted to at the speed that I was comfortable with, right? And also being able to ask for help way before you struggle is very important. It's a learning journey. You have to know, I think, not you, but I found it very important that I was in tune with myself. I could sense that I was resentful. I can sense that I was, getting frustrated more often. And then you sit and you really think, what's the trigger, right? Is it me not asking for help, me not being able to communicate it clearly? And then you go from there, right? So I think at the end of the day, communication is key and asking for help is key, like home and also at work, right? Over communicating at work allows Julie and I to be 5-10 steps ahead of where we want to be, right? And also at home, if I, in our weekly catch-ups with my husband, if I over communicate my needs, it's actually a plus, right? He knows where my headspace is. He jumps in. He's able to help me sort of delegate that out. So I think it's a learning journey. I still feel like I'm still learning. I feel women need to be able to sit down and just step away from your busy schedule and just truly ask yourself, am I asking enough for help? Am I communicating and conveying the right message to people around me? And what is the intention behind it? I feel like if people understand where you're coming from, it is out of love. It's not because I'm frustrated with my husband. It's because I want the best for the family unit, right? And at work also, it's not because I think this is my way or the highway. It's more about where does this fit into the bigger picture. So I think it's a learning journey. I don't think I'm the best communicator, but I feel like I'm getting there. Yeah.
The bigger picture that you were just talking about, right? I mean, it's a bigger picture for the company you're building. It's a bigger picture for your family that you're building together with your husband. But also there is a bigger picture on when we talk about ambition as you as a person. And what we saw in our data is that when you become a mom, that 70% of the women said that their ambition either stayed the same or even grew than before they became a mom. And what we saw during the current situation in the last 2 to 3 months is that ambition didn't go away, but it froze. Because we just didn't have exactly what you just mentioned, right? This time of rethinking, recalibrating, contemplating about what do I actually want to do and what is my North Star and am I still on track, because there were other things that were more important. It's a bit like the Maslow pyramid, right? If the bottom is not there, you can't go further. How would you define your ambition? What is ambition for you, and how has this changed, stayed the same in the last months?
I love it. I love this question. I think for me, it's clear that now my ambition is not rushed, right? So when I was, in tech in Southeast Asia, I was constantly rushing to be on the best special project, to really show that I could do it as fast as I can because I'm so productive and so efficient. But I think right now my ambition is not rushed. I feel like for me, ambition is more aligned to my own values. And it feels good, right? I think ambition needs to feels really, really good. It needs to be from the core. It can't be performative, right? A lot of people now are ambitious because it looks great from the outside. But I think it's great for them, but is it sustainable? For me, ambition, I think, is not rushed. It's very aligned to my own values. And I feel like it's always going to evolve, right? So I think for me, I know for the rest of what I want to build and everything that I do, it has to be impact driven. It cannot be something that I'm not interested in, right? It needs to be highly impactful. It needs to be community led, because I do believe in the power of community, right? So communities are really the driving force with everything that we do. AI is here, but at the end of the day, people want in real life. People want that human to human connection. They want to be heard and they want to be seen. And so for me, I think that's how I would define ambition at the current stage of my life. Very different from when I was, early 20s, trying to rush through everything.
I love that. I think, and I heard that even in your previous answers. It's about taking that time, taking that moment to think for yourself about what you really want and finding ways to communicate that to your life and work partners so that everyone's on the same page. And I know you and your husband actually did a little getaway specifically to plan a couple of months ago, which was very inspirational. So that's fantastic. So just to pick up on this thread, you obviously are a community builder, a community leader. We know from our data and everything you've said about the role of community as a growth engine, as a support system for ambitious women. We saw that 45% of women in our first survey said that friendships were actually one of the biggest things that have got them through times of isolation in early motherhood. The second wave related to the crisis showed that 26% of women were kind of mourning the loss of their community when, the crisis hit. So we know that this community is a really, really core part of it. But I'd like to pivot our conversation a little bit to family. Ying and I have had many conversations, both coming from, families where kind of our Asian values and prioritization of family is so key. I want to hear a little bit from your perspective how this, intergenerational living, which I know as you're currently in the short-term moment in Singapore with your family, how is that working in terms of your family being a part of your village, the societal expectations on the flip side of that? How does that all work together as an ambitious mother and your values?
Wow. What a complex question, but I love it, right? I'm living it every single day now. It's been about 5 weeks that I'm here based in Singapore. I live, with my parents. We have family around. We are very, very tight-knit as an Asian family, like what Anushka said. So, it's been an interesting experience, I would say, 8 years in Dubai, where all you have to focus on is your own schedule, your own way of living. But now intergenerational living means having to be flexible and okay with everything that's going around you, right? So, for example, the way simple things like parenting skills, all right? So I'm here in Singapore and grandparents are amazing. They love the kids. The way they manage, the kids, very, very different from how I am trying to raise my kids, right? Asian way meaning very strict, very, there's a routine. For me, I'm all about really, understanding what my kid needs, right? So I think just little things like that, this internet has made it interesting. I would say pros and cons. The pros, obviously, just looking at how my kids interact with everyone around them, right? If you think about it, the kid comes home from school, and they have at least 6 people to chat with. Everyone has a different personality, right? So the kid at such a young age will need to learn how to manage conversations with grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, cousins, right? And everyone around them will have a different personality, different way of teaching them. Whereas in Dubai, for example, it is just when the kid comes home, it's me and the helper. It's very easy. It's very predictable. It's very standard, right? So I think the pro to intergenerational living is that you see a lot of culture and a lot of different parenting, approaches and techniques being weaved into the structure, I would say. And for me, in this setup, what I'm trying to do is try to find a good balance, right? Like I said, over communicating also, right? Being able to hold that boundary for my kids to be like, okay, this is how we want meal times to be. This is how nap times should be. This is how we speak to other people, right? And so it's a journey for sure, but I would really see it as a pro because I strongly believe that kids now from young they need to really be strong in their EQ, and I think this whole intergenerational living just gives a very good foundation to everything that AI cannot teach them, right? Like different communication styles or different ways of negotiation, it's all learned every single day. I temporarily put Olivia to school for the last few weeks for some structure, and there is a grandparents club, right? Very, very different from what we see in Dubai. In Singapore, you see, grandparents picking and dropping kids off. In Dubai, you don't see that. So when you have grandparents
Except
also...
for in the Kalyanpur Deluca house.
That's nice. That's
Very
nice.
grateful.
Yeah, that's really nice because when grandparents pick you up, it's different from when parents pick you up, right? Grandparents just have that special touch of, really teaching, I feel, the kids, manners and being very, very particular about what needs to be done. With parents, I feel like we're quite not a soft generation. We want to be very child-led. So that's the main, contention right now. Yeah.
I had that also the last week, so I feel you. But it's I also thought it's so much added value to a child, like what you said, right? To not just come home to me and the nanny, but to actually come home to whoever is currently there, and that might be all kind of different people. And I also thought it was very interesting to see how my child reacted to it and how he adjusted so quickly to all of a sudden do everything he doesn't do here, maybe, which is really lovely. Now, I think we're slowly about to wrap up, and we always want to give our listeners a tip. Now, with you, there could be many, many directions where this could go, but knowing you well, I know that you read a lot, and you read really interesting books. Is there maybe 2 or 3 books that you currently read that really gave you something that you thought could benefit other moms with ambition?
Yeah, I think not just moms with ambition, but I think everyone, right? So like what Anushka said, last year I did, a trip with my husband. We called it the offsite, basically just me and him, no kids, no distractions, and just figuring out life, right? So the book that I really liked and I now share with everyone is this book called 5 Types of Wealth. It's a great book about, what does it mean to truly feel wealthy? Not so much in the material sense, but how do you want to feel mentally, spiritually, financially, emotionally, and socially, right? So I think that book really gave me the aha moment in so many big decisions that I needed to make, which, really helped shape a lot of my 2026. So it's definitely a book that I feel has to be bought, has to be on your book stands for reference. Yeah.
I read it. It's a really good book. Yeah. Based on your recommendation.
Amazing.
Liying, thank you so much. This was such an amazing conversation. A lot of very deep moments, and it felt like I think everyone could take out a lot of this, of how your journey has been and how you're building your family, your career, and your steps in different countries. And I'm really grateful for you for sharing all of this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this podcast.
Thank you. And we are so grateful for the Crunchmoms community and also so excited to see where you all take this next. So rooting for you and thank you for everything. This is Anushka and Constance signing off on Motherhood in Motion. Thank you. Motherhood in Motion,
the podcast for mothers with ambition.